Hi everyone, and welcome to my Zoom meeting on the Venus star point in Aries. Here's a video by Nick Dagan Best, which shows the Venus in her retrograde cycles.
Specifically Venus.
Hello?
Don't worry if there's no sound, just look at the pictures. Okay everyone, sorry about that. Did anyone hear the sound in my tube? No?
No, there was no sound.
No, Linda, it was at first you could hear it, but then it was very, very, very low. You couldn't hear it.
Okay, did you see the picture okay though?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that was Venus making her retrogrades. So she would go around, you know, and then go back retrograde, then go forward again, and it forms the Venus star. So I thought that was a really good video. Okay, and now to my presentation on the Venus star point in Aries. All of these pictures that I've used here are from Melanie Reinhardt, and she does give people permission to use them as long as her website is mentioned. So there it is there, melanierinehart.com. Okay, and that video we just saw was by Nick Dagan Best, and there's the link if you'd like to go back later, watch it again. Okay, here's the another picture of the dance of Earth and Venus around the sun. There's the sun, Earth over there, and Venus there. And here's our Vitruvian man with the 5-pointed star overlaid on top. We'll talk more about that later. Okay, so here's the Venus retrograde cycle. Venus entered the retrograde zone on the 30th of January. She's currently retrograde right now. She went retrograde on the 4th of March. There'll be 3 hits to the Venus star point degree. The Venus star point degree is 4 degrees Aries 57. And you can see that there it is right in the middle there of the cycle. And so the first hit happened on the 10th of February. The second hit will happen on the 25th of March. And that's called the Venus star point in Aries. And the third hit is on the 7th of May, and that'll be the final hit of that star point degree. So Venus stationary direct takes place on the 15th of April, and Venus leaves the RX zone on the 18th of May. Here's the chart for the Venus RX when it went RX on the 4th of March, 2017. And just drawing your attention to a few of the aspects in the aspect grid. Pluto is squaring Venus. Pluto is squaring Jupiter and Uranus. And Saturn is squaring Chiron. So we may as well bring them all with us into this cycle. So here's the Venus RX cycle in more detail. Venus stationary retrograde on the 4th of March. We began evaluating areas such as unfinished business in relationships, the relationship we have to ourselves, the real worth and value of people in our lives, reconnections with people from the past, getting to the root of problems in relationships, resurfacing of old wounds and pain, and consideration of money issues. When Venus goes stationary direct on the 15th of April, building upon our insights and getting a balanced perspective on the above issues will enable direct action, corrective steps, fundamental changes, desired improvements, karmic commitments, endings, and final decisions. When Venus leaves the RX zone, we will look at our Venus love nature in a totally different perspective, bringing insights, accelerated evolution, new choices, final decisions, forgiveness, deeper access to the soul, clarification of karmic ties, and our inner and outer love nature changed forever. When Venus is retrograde, it provides lessons in tuning in and evaluating the real worth and value of people and things in our life by becoming aware of any problems, differences, or unresolved issues. Underlying problems in important relationships will surface in order to establish a state of balance. The outer side of Venus, the externalized Venus, is relationships with others, Libra. We are reassessing and reevaluating the quality of our relationships with others. Certain key relationships must be relived and re-examined throughout the retrograde cycle in order to deal with unfinished business. The inner side of Venus, when Venus is retrograde, we especially feel the inner Taurus side of Venus, which is the relationship we have with ourselves, our essential needs, the psychology of inner hearing, survival issues, and what holds meaning and value for us. Through the Venus retrograde cycle, we are making changes to support our inner values. And here's the chart for the Venus star point in Aries, which will take place on the 25th of March. Venus will be conjunct the Sun. Venus and Mars are in mutual reception. Venus squares Saturn, it's quite wide. Venus in conjuncts the North Node. Mercury squares Pluto. Jupiter and Uranus T-squares Pluto. And Pluto exactly opposes its own North Node in Cancer. The Venus star point at 4 Aries 57. The Venus star point takes place when Venus is conjunct the Sun. This will take place on March 25th, 2017. The Sun sheds light and burns away the rubbish. It is an alchemical process of rebirth. Venus is in her opposite sign of Aries. Venus and Mars are in mutual reception. The focus changes to the self, going solo. This current cycle brings opportunities for independence and autonomy and will set the tone for the next 18 months. Here's the Sabian symbol for the Venus star point in Aries. Venus conjunct the Sun, March 25th, 2017, at 4 Aries 57. A white triangle is seen. It has golden wings. A white triangle with golden wings is a spiritually uplifting image. The symbol it implies the possibility of being able to raise yourself above the ordinary, using your natural gifts to find a new perspective into what's going on. What's needed is an uplifted view to expand your scope of awareness. Keywords: inspiration and zeal, feeling elevated and inspired through spiritual or creative agencies, flying to a greater perspective, taking off, purity of thought and expression, angelic forms, creative imagination, self-transcendence, finding new dimensions of experience, illusions of sight, visions, untethered imaginations, ascension, ascended beings, moths, butterflies, and flying machines. The caution: not noticing your own down-to-earth needs or the needs of those around you, losing the plot, escapism, forgetting about the requirements and desires of the body, being ungrounded, the space cadet, things that aren't based in reality. Have a look at Venus star point in your chart at 5 degrees Aries. What house is it in? And you can come back later and check out these meanings. Right, so the current Venus star, this is 5 Venus phases over 8 years. So we start down here. On the 6th of June 2012, we had Venus at 15 degrees Gemini. Then we move up here to the 11th of January 2014, where the Venus star point took place at 21 degrees Capricorn, followed by 15 August 2015 at 22 Leo, and that was the last one. And the current one is 25th March 2017 for Aries 57. 1.5 years later, on the 26th of October 2018, the Venus star point will be at 3 degrees Scorpio. Coming over to the next chart, this is the next Venus star. In the next series of 5 cycles, degrees are displaced approximately 2 degrees earlier. So starting down here at the bottom, on the 3rd of June 2020, the Venus star will be at 13 degrees Gemini. Then on the 9th of January 2022 at 18 degrees Capricorn. On the 13th of August 2023 at 20 degrees Leo. On the 23rd of March 2025 at 2 degrees Aries. And then on the 24th of October 2026 at 0 degrees Scorpio. The Venus star is always made up of the quintiles, the crescent quintile at 72 degrees, the gibbous biquintile at 144 degrees, the full phase biquintile at 216 degrees, and the last quarter quintile at 288 degrees. The quintile family. The quintile represents the 5th harmonic. This series is said to be linked with the use or abuse of power and authority. It is also said to be one-pointed and intensely driven in a specialized field of activity. Esoterically, the quintile is said to link the soul with the will of the cosmos. Since this is obviously a difficult task for most people, quintiles tend not to fulfill their universal potential until we have struggled to become more self-realized. It is generally associated with Uranus in its expression of freedom, variety, and experimentation. There is a need to harness the 5 senses and attempt to rise above their domination. The quintiles are said to indicate creative genius, insight, and mental artistry. Occultly, they are linked with the mind and alchemy. Keywords: power, magic, gifts, talent, highly creative, strong personality, and genius. The quintile process is creative transformation. Here are a few technical quotes by Ariel Gutman on the Venus cycle. The Venus star is perpetually moving in retrograde motion. The Venus star transits one sign for approximately 100 years. The current order of signs that make up the full star of Venus are Aries, Capricorn, Scorpio, Leo, and Gemini. 2 of the signs of the Venus star will be terminating are Mars-ruled signs, Aries and Scorpio. In the 2020s and 2030s, we will give birth to 2 new Venus-related star signs, Pisces and Libra, who are themselves life mates. If we can steer ourselves and our planet through the stormy, turbulent seas that we are now embarked upon, we can look forward to a time of renewed love and respect for each other and for our planet. And so here we come to the myth of Inanna. This is abbreviated by mythologist Alison Steiger. Inanna learns that her sister Ereshkigal, queen of the underworld, is mourning the death of her husband, Gud-Galana. He was the bull killed by Gilgamesh and Enkidu in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Before her journey to the underworld, she outfits herself in all her jewels and raiment, 7 pieces. She begins to descend into the underworld, only to be stopped at 7 gates during the journey. At each gate, she is required to give up another symbol of her status, from her crown and scepter to, at the last gate, her robes. She arrives at Ereshkigal's domain, stripped of everything that she was, completely naked. Once she appears before her sister, Ereshkigal kills her and hangs her body on a meat hook in a corner of her throne room. However, before she left the upper world, Inanna suspected something might happen, and she sent a message to her grandfather, the king of the gods, that if she did not return in 3 days, that something has happened. When she does not return, Enki creates 2 sexless creatures from the dirt underneath his fingernails, who descend to the underworld in search of Inanna. Arriving at Ereshkigal's throne room, they find her in the throes of labor. They show compassion for her pain. She offers them anything they desire, and they say, "We want the corpse hanging from the meat hook in the corner." Ereshkigal is not pleased with being tricked out of her sister's corpse, but she honors her promise and gives them the body. They sprinkle the food of life and the water of life on Inanna's body and are able to revive her. She ascends to the upper world, regaining all the regalia of her position at each gate on her return. Summing up, taking Inanna's mythology as a whole, her actions frequently lead to success and integration. Her myths show success stories, where only the ones who ill-treat the goddess have to face due punishment. The myth of Inanna is a poignant story of the soul maturing from personal to transpersonal love. Inanna's cycle gives us a holistic picture from early infancy to full maturity to retrieve the joy and courage of the dynamic feminine as a model of self-defined integrity, independence, and self-sufficiency. So we can apply the myth of Inanna to the cycle of Venus. And here are the dates and phases of the cycle of Venus by Melanie Reinhardt, who gives permission to anybody to freely copy and share this material. So, looking at the diagram here, let's start at February 18th, number 8. Venus is at her greatest brilliance at 9 degrees Aries. Going over to number 9 on March 4th, Venus stationary retrograde at 13 Aries 08. Number 10 is the evening set, and over to number 1. On March 25th is the interior conjunction between Venus and the Sun. On March 29th is the heliacal rise, Lucifer morning star. On April the 15th, Venus stations direct. And on April the 26th, she reaches her greatest brilliance. On May 18, 2017, Venus at 13 Aries, the degree of the earlier stationary retrograde on the 4th of March. On November 28th is the morning set, and on January 9th, 2018 is the exterior conjunction, where she becomes the evening star again. So you can come back later and have a good look at this. And this little section here is by Melanie Reinhardt, The Descent and Return of Inanna. Reaching her maximum brilliance on February 18, 2017, Venus will gradually dim her light, sink lower and lower in the evening sky, and eventually disappear and return as the morning star. Inanna Venus reached her highest position in the sky on January 12, 2017, and her greatest brilliance occurred around February 18. Then she gradually descends to the horizon until she disappears on March 22nd. Venus has been constantly visible as Hesperus, or the evening star, since July 2016. Venus turned retrograde on March 4, 2017. This resonates with the beginning of Inanna's descent into the underworld. There are approximately 7 weeks from the highest point of Venus in the sky to when she turns retrograde, like Inanna entering the underworld through the 7 gates or chakras. Likewise, she is visible for approximately 7 months or 7 new moons. From the retrograde point on March 4th, there are 21 days until the retrograde conjunction with the Sun on March 25th. This is called the interior conjunction and symbolizes the meeting with Ereshkigal, an ego death occurring in the depth realms as we encounter that which obscures our inner light. We bear witness to our own soul until Venus reappears from early April as Phosphorus or Lucifer, the light bearer or morning star. Inanna is revived by the waters of life and once again shines her light on all. Morning star and evening star. There are 2 fundamental types, Venus Lucifer, the morning star, and Venus Hesperus, the evening star. How to determine your natal Venus type? First, locate the Sun in your natal chart. If Venus is clockwise from the Sun, your Venus type is Lucifer, the morning star. On the other hand, if Venus is positioned counterclockwise from the Sun, your Venus type is of Hesperus, the evening star. Venus Lucifer morning star. A new Venus cycle opens when the Sun and Venus meet in inferior conjunction on March 25th, 2017, imbued with what Dame Raja calls a new quality of will and purpose that becomes realized gradually throughout the 584-day Venus cycle. The first half of the Venus cycle is characterized by a spontaneous, eager, and impulsive emotional nature. Keywords: fresh, spontaneous, open, resilient, courageous, instinctive, passionate, warrior. Here we have an example chart of the morning star. Venus is clockwise from the Sun. Right. Venus Hesperus evening star. The second half of the cycle begins at the superior conjunction with Venus direct on January 9, 2018. A few weeks after the Sun and Venus meet in superior conjunction, Venus emerges on the other side of the Sun, appearing as Hesperus, the evening star. The second half of the cycle denotes a deliberate and goal-orientated emotional makeup, more controlled and introverted. Keywords: intense emotions, private, internal, refined, social, deliberate, and mature. In this example chart, we have Venus in a clockwise motion from the Sun, and it's the evening star. A quote from Melanie Reinhardt: "In the core of our being, there is unity, love, and truth, but this can be obscured by the density of the ego patterns which have developed around it. Like Inanna descending into the underworld, as Venus descends the sky, we prepare ourselves for our own descent to connect more deeply with our inner world." At each Venus star point, we look at our Venus love nature in a different perspective each time. Do any of the Venus star points aspect planets in your own chart? What happened 8 years ago in March 2009? What is ending now and what is beginning now for you? Now we come to some material on the prenatal Venus star point. I'm using my own Venus star point as an example. So my prenatal VSP was on the 22nd of June 1956, and so my prenatal Venus star point is at 0 degrees Cancer 47 retrograde. And according to this model, we can go back even further to the third VSP prenatal, which was on the 15th of November 1954, which is at one of the feet of my Vitruvian man, and that's at 22 degrees Scorpio. And one of the hands of the Vitruvian man for me is the second Venus star point prenatal, which took place on the 1st of September 1955 at 8 degrees Virgo. The head is the prenatal Venus star point at 0 degrees Cancer. And the first Venus star point postnatal on the 14th of April 1957 is at 24 degrees Aries, and that's at one of the arms. And lastly, the foot is the second Venus star point postnatal on the 28th of January 1958 at 8 degrees Aquarius. And you can find your prenatal Venus star here at sophiavenus.com. And here's the data that I used, which I extracted from the chart that she provided. So people who have planets on the feet of our VSP, Vitruvian man, are very supportive, loyal, understanding, and helpful. People who have their sun on our head can work with us in a shared and common purpose. And people with planets on our hands will help us be a voice, communicate our thoughts effectively, and connect with others. The prenatal Venus star points in relationships. If one partner's 5 Venus star points in conjunct the other partner's 5 Venus star points, this can mean codependence, crisis, controlling, need to consciously work on equality, many adjustments to be made, forgiveness and acceptance are needed. One partner's 5 Venus star points sextile the other partner's 5 Venus star points. This is creative, equality, friendship, good rapport, give each other space, longevity of the relationship, encouraging and supporting of each other, soulmates. So I drew up some of the prenatal Venus star points for some of our regulars here. So Carolyn, your prenatal Venus star point is at 2 degrees Cancer, retrograde, which makes her the morning star. Diana, 29 Leo. Myself at 0 Cancer. Marie, 10 Aquarius. Olive, 5 degrees Virgo. Priya, 17 degrees Scorpio. Sarah, 18 degrees Aries. Sue, 10 degrees Aquarius. Tashi, 22 degrees Scorpio. Wanda, 5 degrees Aquarius. Wei, 14 degrees Aries. And Wendy, 22 degrees Aries. So apparently, Wei and Wendy are allowing me to have a voice and to communicate effectively, and Sarah. And at one of my feet is Marie, Sue, and Wanda, who are very supportive. And Carolyn shares my prenatal Venus star point in Cancer. So I guess we would have a lot in common there. So once again, you can go to sophiavenus.com to find your Venus star point. Prenatal Venus-Sun conjunctions by the late Robert Blaschke. If the prenatal Venus-Sun conjunction was retrograde, that person is completing karma in relationships in the current life and moving towards significant relationships with those whom they have deep and incomplete soul connections. Those with the prenatal Venus-Sun conjunction being direct are meeting new people and starting new relationships in this life. And going back to our list, we have 2 people, Diana and Wendy, with the prenatal Venus-Sun conjunction direct, and they are meeting new people and starting new relationships in this life. And for the rest of us, our prenatal Venus-Sun conjunction was retrograde, and we are completing karma in relationships in this life and moving towards significant relationships with those whom we have deep and incomplete soul connections. So I found that very interesting. And finally, the Venus transit. A Venus transit occurs when we can see Venus passing directly in front of the sun, similar to a solar eclipse by the moon, but Venus appears as a small dot crossing the face of the sun in comparison with the moon, which covers the sun during a solar eclipse. The Venus transit currently comes in pairs, with the two transits spaced 8 years apart. The first transit of the current pair was on June 8, 2004, and the next was on June 6, 2012. The last Venus transit pair occurred 129.5 years ago in 1874 and 1882. The next pair will occur 113.5 years from this one in 2117 and 2125. And that brings us to the end of this presentation. I'll just stop my share. Okay, any comments from anyone?
Excellent as always, Linda.
Oh, Wendy.
Better and better and better. Just unbelievable, Linda. It was lovely, and as you always are, generous.
Oh, thank you. I haven't been well, haven't been very well. We've just had the full moon in Virgo, I don't know, about 5 days ago, I think, and I've just been very unwell. So I had to take that very slowly. So thanks for that feedback. Any comments from anyone? Anything you'd like to add?
Oh, I can't wait to go look up my star. I didn't even know about that. So interesting. The one thing I do know about from studying the transit, it's a technological revolution. So from 2004 to 2012, we went through a technological, and the last one was the telephone, you guys.
Ah.
Right. But they say now, though, that it's really, we're moving into quantum technology.
Right.
And it's more about our minds joining telepathically and all of that. Mm-hmm.
Works for me. It's happening to me.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Linda, one thing I was thinking, it says that my Venus star point is about forming new relationships in this life, but with Venus conjunct Pluto square the nodes, I don't know if that's the whole story, right? So.
Well, the first one you mentioned was actually the prenatal Venus star point.
Right.
And so your Venus is at about, what, 16 Virgo conjunct Pluto?
18, almost 19, yeah.
Is it balsamic or new phase?
New phase. It's new phase.
So what's the question?
Well, I guess it just surprises me that would be the case for me in this life, because I feel like a lot of my connections have been old connections. But maybe it's the intention is meant to be forming new relationships.
Well, perhaps, all of our friendships with you are new relationships. We don't really know, do we?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I have a lot of new relationships, but I guess the really challenging relationships I've had in my life don't feel like they're new.
Yeah, well, they probably aren't. They probably aren't. I don't think it's every single relationship. I think it's just generally relationships in general.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, I didn't create it, so.
Yeah.
Just see if it works for you.
I want to ask you something. Right now we're dealing with the inferior conjunction of the Sun-Venus conjunction, as you know, you just taught it.
Yeah.
And I've been watching all these people around me getting into new relationships. And I'm wondering, since the inferior conjunction, they're saying, or Blatchy's saying that it relates to the karmic past, then these people are completing karma. So people who are starting new relationships will probably start next January of 2018, right?
Yeah, maybe
Yeah, I
because
wondered about that. I've
don't
been really
forget,
watching all these people jump into relationships
yeah,
around.
yeah, like the Venus star will, Aries and Scorpio will be part of the Venus star going up to 2020 and going and further on into 2030. So we're still dealing with Aries and Scorpio now, which is very much, you know, intimate sexual relationships. And yeah, sure, there's a lot of karma to be dealt with. There's a lot of evolution to be had around those two signs. Absolutely, yeah. And people starting new relationships, well, they need to have the relationship to be able to grow and evolve, don't they? So
Yeah.
um,
It's really
yeah.
helpful, Linda. Very helpful. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. I'm going to be able to study this and use it.
Well, it's not really used in evolutionary astrology.
It
But
needs to be. It needs.
I thought it was so interesting, and thanks to all those astrologers who actually did all the hard work, I just presented it.
Thanks.
So, yeah. Any other comments?
Linda,
Sure.
okay, I'm trying to wrap my mind around how the Venus star point would affect a natal planet. I don't have anything this time, but October 2018, the star point will be conjunct my natal Mercury at 3 degrees Scorpio, and 2 degrees off my south node in the 7th house.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out.
So, Carolyn, what was in your 7th house? Was that Mars, did you say?
Mercury at 3 degrees Scorpio, and then my
Yes.
south node at 5 degrees Scorpio in my 7th.
Right, that's really interesting. So, you know, for a very long time, almost about 90 years, I'd say, you've had the signs of the sign of Scorpio impacted in this Venus star for a very long time. It's been operating for a very long time, so I guess it's you know, affecting some really important planets in your chart. You've got Mercury in the south node. So I would suggest that with the south node at 5 degrees Scorpio, this definitely has to do with reliving relationships from the past and evolving them through this Venus star. And so you're really lucky actually to have, you know, planets or points at any of the Venus star points, because it really helps you evolve your Venus love nature, your inner love nature, and your outer love nature with others. So I think the relationships you've had in this lifetime have probably been relived relationships, karmic relationships that you've really had to sort through and transform, and above all, forgive the partner for whatever, you know, you perceived them, what they did to you, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Forgiveness is really important. And the Mercury is there as well. So Mercury conjunct your south node. Mercury's at 3 degrees Scorpio, and it's right on the Scorpio Venus star point. And obviously that means, you know, information coming in and leaving, you know, discarding, getting rid of old information and bringing in new information, you know, and especially to do with your Venus love nature, you know, to do with your relationships and your friendships. And also, you know, the relationship you have with yourself on an inner level.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Oh, that is so helpful. I'm going to listen to this again and again, and I know it will sink in on different levels, but that was off the top.
You've still got a way to go. Like, we share the same points. We share the same Venus star. And so we still, you know, every 1.6 years, we're going to be moving to the next one. So the next one will be here, 2020. After 2018, it'll be 2020 at Gemini.
Yeah.
Forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, with the Scorpio one will still be operating. This Venus star will still be operating for, I'm not sure, another 10 or 20 years, something like that. So yeah, it'll be affecting us. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Do you want me to go back to any of the slides, anybody? Perhaps back to this one.
This was really good, Linda. I have a planet at I think one of your feet and one of your hands. I think. Oh, does the ascendant, descendant, and or the angles make a difference there as well?
You mean your angles at somebody's feet or arms, do you mean?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, definitely. The angles are always really important. They're very powerful. They actually come first above anything else. I would say Pluto comes first and the nodes, and then I think the angles are very important.
So if people are born within 1.6 years of each other, do they share the same star points?
No, they would share the, let me have a look. Let me just go back to this.
I guess it's how many years does the star point take again? I missed that.
Well, I think there's a couple things going on, right? There's Venus is always in motion, right?
Yeah.
Making these star points, Linda, right? Because everybody's got one.
That was 8
The
years.
Venus, the Venus
It looks like
cycle.
it goes from 2015 to 2022. It looks like it's 7 years.
It's
right,
8 years.
it's 8 years, but it only
That's 8 years. Okay.
that cycle only happens every 100
And
some
13
year.
years. So do we all share these? That's what I couldn't, I don't know.
I think that's the collective pattern that we're all sharing, and then
Yes.
individually we have our own.
I know, I just don't understand the difference, that's all.
I know it's a little complicated.
Oh, it's not really that complicated. I mean, Tashi, do you want to rephrase your question and let's try and work it out?
Okay, so this is an 8-year picture, right? The 5 Venus phase cycles.
Yes.
And your natal one,
yes,
is different to this one.
Yes, because it goes back in time.
Right. So every 8 years to make that big, huge, beautiful pattern, it is every 8 years. So if you're born within 8 years of somebody, you're probably sharing Venus points with them.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
On either side of that. So that's interesting.
It would be an inconjunct or a biquintile, sorry. Anyway, that's a little bit too difficult for me to work out right now, but you could actually work
I'll
it
look
out.
into it. I'll look into it. 'Cause, yeah, I've been fascinated with this Venus star for years, and I haven't looked into this part of it. So I'm looking forward to looking into it.
Right.
Thank you so much. This was so insightful. I love when I learn something that I've been really wanting to learn for a while and just didn't take the time. I studied the Venus transit in 2004 to 12, and I taught a lot about that, but you know, it's such a collective thing.
Yeah, that was so exciting. I was watching it.
It really
live.
was.
I actually, you know, printed this from the internet, this actual diagram here, right? You know, alt print screen on your computer. Yeah. And so that was a great transit. It's beautiful.
It really
Yeah,
was.
it was a very powerful time. A lot of feminine energy pouring into the planet.
Okay, we're going to be winding down soon. Any other final comments or questions?
Linda, I was born in 1948, and
Yes.
I think you were born in 56, 57.
Yes.
So that would be about 8 years.
Right.
And we have similar.
Yes, that's right.
star
Every 8 years you would share the same star. You'd have the same star. You'd have the.
So my 22 Scorpio falls where in yours again? Because I have the 22 Scorpio and I saw you had that one somewhere.
All right, let's have a look. 22
I'm just curious about it.
Scorpio.
I want to
Oh,
see how
you're at
this
my
movement
feet.
works.
You're at my feet,
Aha!
which is beautiful. You're very supportive, loyal, understanding, and helpful, which is absolutely
Okay.
true.
It's interesting. The ones that are going on now are affecting everything in my chart. This cycle that we're in, the
Right,
current one,
right.
everything. I'm like, wow. The last one was on my Pluto. The next one is on my Saturn. I'm like, okay.
Okay, well, tell us,
Fascinating.
let's go through step by step. So this
So look
current
at
one,
August 2015, it began. That was on my Pluto.
okay,
And yeah, I had a total rebirth. I'm in a total rebirth period. Someone died, but they died a little bit earlier than that, but it doesn't really matter. And then this one is close to my midheaven. My midheaven in Los Angeles is 29 Pisces. I bet you there's some kind of asteroids or something there that I don't know about. But the next one in 2018, this one isn't exact, it's close to my midheaven.
right.
The next one is on my Saturn exactly.
Yes,
And the next one in 2020 is very close to my Mercury.
right.
And the last one is my node's descendant, all that stuff.
Interesting. So you have something at every point of the Venus star.
I do in this one, in this current one.
That's amazing.
Oh my God, August 2015? No, well, that's when I started the concert, Music, Venus.
Right, right.
I bet you I'll do a big one on each one of these.
Yeah.
I missed the March one. We were going to do one in March, and I was just like, I could not cope with it too much. So we're not going to do it, but we're planning the next one in March, which is now. Do any of the rest of you have things on all of these?
Only my moon at the August one.
Your moon is this one here, is it?
Yeah, the August 2015.
Right, right.
So we're all moving from that one to the 4 Aries right now.
Yep, we're on the 4 Aries right now. Yep.
It's coming up. I mean, it's always that Sun-Venus inferior conjunction.
That's
Well,
right.
I guess it isn't always the inferior conjunction. It just is this time because some of them are superior.
Yes, yes, that's right.
Right. So the next one is the inferior conjunction. Oh, so we're in a review kind of karmic period because the point is the retrograde. That's fascinating, right?
Right.
And I wonder if October 18th is direct. Easy enough to find out.
Well, you know, I did have the retrogrades and direct on these diagrams, but then it just got so complicated. So I just...
Let's study this some more. Look at all of us. We're on the edge of our chair. Let's do more.
Yeah.
I have the here now.
Let's see,
Venus
did I put
book.
them in? No,
I can
didn't
look
put
it
them
up.
in.
I've got 2 screens on my computer right now. I've upgraded to being such an adult.
Okay, well, maybe we can do that another time,
Next
Tasha,
time.
because
Yeah,
I think
I've
it
got
might
to
be
run
a little bit complicated
Yeah, no.
to
Yeah.
do it right now. But
No,
yeah,
no,
I should have
let's-
put that in. Sorry about that. But
No. I mean, I'm just such a Gemini. I've got a million questions always.
oh, look, you won't believe how much I deleted from this presentation. I had so much more, but you know, we just want to keep it simple to start with, and we can always go deeper later.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Linda,
everyone. Well, yeah.
You're a fearless leader. This was wonderful.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was wonderful.
Oh, pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Linda. Loved it.
Looking forward to next week and seeing you all next week. Next week, Pluto will be opposite its own north node in Cancer, exactly on the day of our Zoom meetings. So we're going to have some sort of celebration or a special Zoom meeting to celebrate, okay?
Okay.
So special.
Thank you. Thanks, Tasha.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.